everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video, this is maybe a spicy topic to cover because we're obviously coming towards the end of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collaboration in Raid. We're definitely at that part of the life cycle, I think it's safe to say, where everyone is like, we hate it, just have it be over, let's move on, man, just give me Leonardo and let's go. I think people are a bit tired of it at this point, but despite that, I want to look ahead and talk about what I'd like to see next. It's a topic we enjoy talking about on my live streams, by the way, so you can ask me about stuff there. I've got a few things to cover here in this video, even breaking down which slots that they could occupy. So, for example, who should be the Fusion Legendary? Who should be the free login Legendary, etc. Major spoilers for all of the games I'm going to talk about. We're going to exclusively be talking about games. And actually, let me mention that two big things I would love to see moving forwards. The Turtles were a heck of a lot of fun. I'm a massive fan of the Turtles. But I think for the next collab or so, I definitely would lean more towards game collabs. There are turtle games. There have been turtle games from before I was born even. But they are more so a TV show and movie sort of thing. So I would like to see more gaming stuff. That'd be cool. And number two, I'd love to see them sort of expand the gameplay of these events. I think the champions, like the turtles, are really cool. All the different turtles are sweet. They're awesome. But I think it'd be pretty awesome if they, added like more story stuff, some events where you could actually play test the turtles in game, actually get to play with them, take on the boss, like with some sample champions, for example. I feel like there's a ton of stuff they could do with the gameplay of the game. The champion designs are sick visually. That generally their kits are really good. Everything is good. But yeah, just expand it. Give more ways to play for the player. So that'd be cool. So without any much further ado, let's dive in. And first, we're gonna talk about Dark Souls, the original Dark Souls 1. So full spoilers for Dark Souls 1. Apologies, guys. There's going to be so many spoilers in this video. If you don't want to get spoiled, look away. Now, here's a blast from the past. Oh my God. This is from, look at this young nub from 7 years ago. What am I? I'm like 34 now, so it would have been mid to late 20s. So young, so innocent, his whole life ahead of him. In Dark Souls, I think there's a bunch of let's move me over to this side so we can see some insane reactions. Uh, what a cool boss entrance. There's a few characters that I would love to see in there. For me, number one would be Artorias. This was the hardest boss in the entire game for me. I thought the DLC bosses in general were way harder than the base game. This guy, he's super creepy. He's super cool. And something about Dark Souls, it fits perfectly with that raid dark fantasy aesthetic. But yeah, as we can see with this guy, he's a dude with a giant sword, but he's also sort of feral. He's kind of crazy. He's got like this arm hanging limp. He's very creepy. And yeah, it's something that you will see here. Oh man, I don't even remember playing this character. I just remember dying a lot, but he's got crazy animations. There's really fun, really weird stuff. So he would be perfect to me. Probably for the Void Legendary, right? He'd be like Odin. He would be like, Shredder's not great, but like Queen of Hearts, that sort of thing. The big chase Void Legendary, sort of the best of the best. So I think he would fit in there perfectly. Here is a little still shot of him if you want to see what he looks like, a sort of still shot. Next up for Dark Souls, obviously, you have to include Ornstein and Smo in there. And they could do a lot with this. These would be two different legendaries. What I think that they would probably do would be have Ornstein be a login legendary and have Smo be the fusion. I think that could be quite cool, and have them be, they are a duo boss fight. You fight them both at the same time. Quite infamous. They're probably the most infamous boss fight out of Dark Souls 1. And I think that would be cool. Artorias is definitely cooler. He's fast. He's got a spear. He shoots lightning, I think, or is that in Dark Souls 2? I don't remember. Whereas Smo, he's big, he's lumbering, he hits really hard, he's a bit of a tank. Two different sort of playstyles. I think that would fit well in Raid, and I think, again, they fit the Raid aesthetic very well. Here's a spicy one. Where's my picture? I think we could bring in a cool epic. The terrible picture, sorry about that. But this is The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is, let me move over here. It's a very successful Batman movie by Christopher Nolan. No, The Dark Knight, he was one of the repeatable enemies in the game, I think he'd be a perfect, like, Void Epic. Give him, like, a big enemy max HP hit or something and make him easy to get. Potentially make him part of a fusion or something like that. But, yeah, I think he's such an iconic Dark Souls enemy. This guy probably murdered you 100 times in the starting area. I think he'd be really fun as an epic. And, you know, we've got Husk, we've got Royal Guard. Give us a Void version. Why not? This guy'd be perfect for a Void epic. Really OP epic for players to just destroy stuff. Defense-based nuker. Tanky, but smacks stupidly hard. There's some other really cool characters in here. I think Chaos Witch Quilag, I don't know how to say the name. She's very like Lady Mikage, right? Like Lady Mikage's alternate form is very like that, so it'd be easy to put her in the game. She was very much, Quilag was very much all about fire and stuff like that, though. So that could be a cool one to put in. That's maybe too similar to Mikage. Maybe they wouldn't want to. Something I would love to see would be the Great Wolf Sif. Giant wolf with a giant sword spinning it around. Just a little bit different from our typical stuff in Raid and super cool. Now, I will say, in the game, Sif is huge. So they'd have to shrink her down. I mean, they'd have to shrink down a bunch of these fights, so that's okay. And then I think another random one. I think these would all be random legendaries, with the Black Knight being an epic. I think the Capra Demon. Not a great picture. This is one of the early bosses you fight. Again, he was a nightmare. He has these two giant swords, just swinging them around. He'd be perfect. Could be an epic. Could be just an easy-to-get legendary, just doing loads of AoE damage. But you fought him in this tiny room. I think there was 2 wolves in there as well, and it was just a nightmare. It was like the ultimate pain in the ass to deal with, just because of the camera more than anything. But yeah, those would be my picks for Dark Souls. So yeah, like so. Boom. Artorias is the Void Lego. Ornstein is the login. Smo is the fusion. Black Knight is maybe the fusion epic, or certainly an accessible epic, and then a few legendary choices. But let me know if you got anything else. Next up, let's we spoiled all the Dark Souls. When I was looking at this, my initial thought was Dark Souls, and honestly, looking back at my own playthrough and looking back at all of that stuff, I was like, man, to be fair, this game is really old. It doesn't hold up actually all that well. It's a masterpiece from its time, though it had huge swathes of unfinished content in like the lava areas and whatnot. But whatever, it was a masterpiece that was worse in the second half. A masterpiece nonetheless. It doesn't hold up that well. What about Elden Ring? So here we go. Warning! I ain't gonna spoil like all of Elden Ring for you. So if you want to play Elden Ring spoiler free, look away, basically, unfortunately. But here we go. We're diving in again. Spoiler warning for Elden Ring. Here we go. So I think the obvious one, and this would be real cool, fellas. Real cool. This is, unfortunately, I played Elden Ring myself off stream, so I don't have any footage of the game. But yeah, I think the most iconic character, Melania. Chick with a giant sword. Also, shout out, I'm using footage from this channel. Big shout out to this channel for not letting me use it, but, you know, we're repurposing it. But basically, you know, she'd be perfect. First fusion mythical in the game. How insane would that be? So she's like crazy aggressive swordswoman in her first form. Super cool. But she does form swap. Again, we talked about big spoilers. It even looks kind of like the mythical transformation in Raid. And actually, fun fact, I never actually did this boss in Elden Ring. I basically beat the entire main game. I did a lot of the optional bosses as well. But I didn't love Elden Ring. For me, it was very overhyped when I got to play it. I was expecting best game in the world, and I got open world Dark Souls, and I was like, okay, I mean, I've played open world games before. I've played 3 Dark Souls games before. This is the same thing. Okay, but yeah, she has an alternate form, which is really cool, with a bunch of new attacks and whatnot. So I think that, yeah, this would be perfect. A mythical, swapping between the forms, the first fusion mythical. I think that would be stupidly hype. Let me go back to my list so I don't forget anything. Again, even more spoilers here. Where is it? I think another mythical that could make it in and be really cool. Maybe not the fusion, but there's this guy, Hora Lu. This is a really cool fight. So you fight him at the start. Let's zoom on ahead. He's cool. You fight him at the start, and he's a big dude with an axe. So barbarian mythical, and he's got like a big ghost lion hanging onto the back of him. I think for the second part of the fight, which I'm guessing is over here where it's most replayed, he like eats the lion. I remember it's a pretty gruesome cutscene, but he turns into like this wrestler who's just like, I don't know, slamming you all over the place. It's hilarious. I think he'd be perfect again as a mythical, and maybe he could be a bit of a chase mythical. That could be cool because we do like the chase things. For their free, legendary, this is a different channel. Tree Sentinel. If you've played Elden Ring, you'll remember dying to this guy almost definitely. But yeah, big old knight with a big old halberd, big old shield. I think he'd be a really good free login legendary for people because if you played Elden Ring, you certainly know who this guy is, and that could be really fun. Then for some random legendaries to put in there, I think Margit of the Fell Omen. He's I think he's like the first boss who again you'll die to an awful lot. He sort of jumps around, he's got a big stick, I think he throws daggers at you as well of light. He's a bit boring in a sense compared to some of these others. He's also got, of course, he's got a big hammer. Never mind, he's not boring. He has a giant glowing hammer. The bosses in this game, actually, to be fair, were kind of insane. But I think he'd be really, really good. Again, he's got a glowing sword as well. I forgot about that one. But yeah, if you played Elden Ring, you probably died to this guy a hell of a lot as well before you realize maybe I should go do other stuff before I fight this boss. So I think he'd be perfect. A spicy one, but for me that I would love, I like the idea of the duo with Ornstein and Smo. I would love to see the Godskin duo. You've got the fat one who's like bouncing around the place and like using his blubber. He's got some crazy animations. They got the fat one, and they've got some like this cool dark magic stuff going on. He sits on you. He does all sorts of stuff. Let's zoom ahead so we can see this one. You can see they got like this black fiery magic. The other one is more like a snake. So again, very, very like Ornstein and Smo. It really is the Ornstein and Smo of Elden Ring. He's like a snake. You fight this boss. You fight them several times throughout the whole game. That was one of my issues with Elden Ring. There's a few bosses you fight multiple times. Yeah, I thought that they'd be really cool again as duo champions. Got the fast, sneaky snake. You've got the slow, tanky whale. I don't know. That could be pretty cool. Maybe this one's a bit bold, but maybe a bit bland. But I do think Renala could be quite cool. Gives you a bit of that mage. I thought she's got one of the coolest intro videos of any boss as well. But yeah, she's a big old mage. She's got the moon, and she has. I remember some just insane animations like giant laser beams. She was super cool. Bit basic. She'd be just a normal legendary, but I think she'd be cool. I did consider Malekith, but I think he'd be too big to transfer into raid. I think Radagon, basically the last boss, pretty much. Again, we did warn about spoilers, but I think this guy visually is freaking cool, and he's got half his chest is gone, his arm, he's got hole where he's got the stuff coming out, and he has some sick animations and very like forge. He's got like a big hammer, and he's sort of like forging stuff. Is sort of his shtick and his theme, which is pretty cool. So I think he'd be very easy to make look really cool in raid with some cool animations. And yeah, I died to this guy a lot as well. He was one of the harder bosses, I thought. So yeah, I would be putting those in. So there we go. So yeah, we've got our Dark Souls. We've got Elden Ring. I do think Elden Ring probably makes more sense. So this is how I would do it. Millennia as a fusion mythical, Horalu chase mythical, Radagon, this guy would be a void legendary. I think the login legendary, Tree Sentinel, then Market, Godskin Duo would be two other legendaries in this. I mean, if they could get Elden Ring, probably impossible, but if they could, let's spoil that before any more spoilers happen. Pause that. But yeah, if they could get Elden Ring, you want to go all out, right? I think if you got Elden Ring, you bring out the fusion mythical, you go crazy. I don't know if that's super likely. I think one of the most likely collabs that they could get, because Plarium devs are a Ukrainian studio, and when I've gone to take part in like the community events and stuff like that, I've met them in Poland because they have offices in Poland, and Ukraine borders Poland, right? And what's the most famous Poland game studio, and probably the most famous Polish game and most famous Polish novelist and novels and all the rest? It would be, of course, The Witcher. So I think The Witcher, I think, is actually something that might happen, especially because Witcher 4 is coming out. It's a possibility. I think it's still small, but if that happened, it would be insane. Geralt, I think, would be the login legendary. Probably Ciri as the fusion. I think she's the main character of the new Witcher. Yennefer, Right, Void Legendary Mage, very cool. Where was I? I think you could have Triss, again, a random legendary. And then, of course, Sultan. I think this is actually from The Witcher 2, which is a great game as well. And then Dandelion as well. I think this would fit in perfectly. You got the 3 sort of random legendaries. You know, some dwarves, duh. Maybe potentially barbarians. Is he too similar to Arman's? Perhaps he's too similar to Arman's. Potentially Bannerlords over there. Probably Geralt and Ciri probably be Sacred Order. Yennefer, I don't know. I mean, maybe Sacred Order as well. I don't know. But yeah, they could do some cool stuff. I think that would fit really, really well into the game. Makes a whole lot of sense, honestly. It's just a sensible one to throw in there. And yeah, then finally, it's something that we know is definitely coming, which is where is it? We know there's definitely the new faction, right? That they've revealed this. The new faction is clearly going to be Greco-Roman, and I think it's got very, very, very strong Fall of Atlantis vibe. So they've teased that. I think the first guy is maybe coming in January, and then I think the whole faction is coming out more like March or so. So, you know, near the start of next year. They've teased it. Check out the collab I did with Boozor, where they talked about this and they revealed this first look at the first champion of the next faction, not the final faction, but the 16th faction. I would love to see when they bring this into the game, again, going back to what I said at the start of the video, I'd love if they brought in more gameplay, more events, and I think having like a cool story with some interesting new gameplay stuff, again, like test out the champions, there's a bit of a story, there's some sort of fun game mode. It's not just, you know, pulling shards to collect the champions. There's actual gameplay baked into the event. I think this wouldn't be a collaboration event, but I think a big event launching the new faction, number one, makes a heck of a lot of sense. They didn't do events like the Asgard Divide, like the Alice in Wonderland event, etc. They didn't do any of that when they released the last faction, right? When Sylvan Watchers came out, that didn't exist. So it's a new thing. I think it's just obvious that you combine the two together, and I think we will see a big Atlantis Falls or something event with that new faction, which I think it is going to be sort of Atlantis themed, and that could be really fun. I think bringing in a bunch of the gods, having a cool story could be really cool. So I mean, obviously, I've got some stuff from Hades 2 here. Not spoilers, just some of the characters. But like Poseidon, you could have obviously Zeus. Hades 2, great game as well. Like Athena and maybe like someone like Kronos, that sort of thing. You could have some really cool stuff there happening with with that. So I don't know how you'd break them down. It's a bit tough, but and probably not as essential to because they'd obviously be permanent additions to the game, whereas these might be time limited. You'd expect they would be. Yeah, I think that would be really cool. I think it's almost inevitable that we'll see some sort of Atlantis event. Yeah, these would be my top picks. I started off with Dark Souls, and I said, gosh, to be honest, it's just kind of old at this point. And it would be really cool, but is that just my nostalgia speaking? I mean, it's such a famous game, but probably, let's be real, if they could get FromSoft on board for a collab, they'd really want to do Elden Ring, which I think would make sense to bring in some mythicals and really go big. And that would be probably the most giga hype thing they could do. Let's be honest, it fits so perfectly in Raid. I think The Witcher fits perfectly. Shout out to God of War. I think God of War would fit insanely well into the game as well. I know I've seen people say Zelda as well. That would be cool, but I think that Nintendo would never let that happen. Would PlayStation let God of War happen? Maybe not. Maybe Elden Ring. Witcher, I could see maybe, and I definitely think Atlantis. But guys, let me know. What do you think? What collab would you like to see next? Or what big event would you like to see next in Raid? If you like the ones I've suggested, do you like my picks? Or do you think that there are better options? Do let me know. I'm sure I've forgotten some of this stuff. Like, I was like, I'd really like to see the Onion Knight, but I remember him mostly from Dark Souls 3. I think he's in all of the Dark Souls. I don't think, was he in Elden Ring? I'd forgotten at this point. They all sort of blur together. Yeah, I didn't include, you know, Sekiro or Bloodborne or anything like that. I just had to keep it to the anyway, you get the gist. Let me know. What would you like to see? Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and who knows what we'll actually get. I guess we'll find out eventually. But yeah, until then, thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Goodbye.